My name is Peter Hinssen. I have a background in startups, and now I teach at London Business School, and I'm the author of The Network Always Wins. I think I've been fascinated by digital for a long time, but then what you saw happening is that once digital became a normality, what you see is that many companies are now in that stage where they realize that digital is a really important way if they think about customers or markets. But actually, in a world where digital becomes normal, you can see that digital isn't really special anymore. It doesn't really give you an edge. And this idea of networks becoming dominant, networks being a new paradigm, is something that we're now really beginning to see. And I think it's fundamental. It's fundamental because I think we are witnessing something where if you see the rise of networks, if you see the power and the speed that network as a concept has, I think it's pretty scary sometimes. And it's not the networks as most people think, oh, it's fibers and IP, and no, it's about the fact that networks becomes a social paradigm. Networks becomes a business model paradigm. And the speed and the agility that networks have, I think is something that companies fundamentally need to understand as well if they want to stay relevant in this world where technology isn't going to be the differentiator anymore. I think the disruptive element that we see is not just because of digital, it's really about digital plus the networks. And overused example, but Uber is a brilliant example. Uber is nothing spectacular per se, but what they've done is they've leveraged three existing assets: the existing infrastructure of cars, the existing infrastructure of smartphones, and the existing infrastructure of Google Maps. And if they network that together, they're capable of building something that reaches critical mass very, very quickly, makes a lot of people very angry all around the world. And if you see how quickly they've been able to get traction, users, and revenue, it's because they're a network. If they would have done that the old way as a traditional organization, company with products and services, but isolated, they would have never had that speed. It's because of the network that you now see those phenomena. And those new companies are completely rethinking entire industries. They're rethinking entire business models. And I think that's where we see the disruptive power that these networks can have. If you put it in a traditional context, it means how companies have to understand the metaphor of networks if they want to survive in an age where networks are the dominant form. People talk about the GAFA, Google, Apple, Facebook, Amazon, Alibaba. Those are very powerful networks. The number of content and financial transaction that flows on these networks is very powerful. And they are becoming hugely important. I mean, if you put it in a big perspective, I think it used to be countries that mattered, and then we've moved on to companies. Today, a country boundary isn't all that relevant. It's a company who is dominant in a certain market. But I think we're going to witness very soon the transition from companies to networks as being the most dominant paradigm in an economic context.